Happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you. Leaves from the vine, falling so slow, like fragile, tiny shells drifting in the foam. Little soldier boy, come marching home. Brave soldier boy comes marching home.
Welcome back to The Boys and the Iceberg, the podcast, where we watch Avatar The Last Airbender. As always, I'm Caleb Bader.
And I'm Harley Davis.
And we're in the middle of Season 2, I guess Book 2, Earth. With two fantastic episodes, I would say.
One good episode. One not. I'm gonna agree with you, actually. I'm not gonna play devil's advocate.
Yeah, no.
They're good.
It's very good.
What are they again?
Secrets and Walls and Cities.
Something about that.
City of Secrets and Walls.
And the Bossing Say of Tales.
Yes. Tale of Bossing Say and City of Walls and Secrets. Not in any specific order, except for the City of Walls and Secrets does come first. So,
followed by the Tales of Bossing Say.
Yes. But unspecified order. And we're gonna jump right in to episode 1.
Oh man. I really want to talk about Mako, but we will. Eventually. Alright. What were your initial thoughts of this episode, Caleb?
Which one? Because they're not in any specified order, as we've already said.
City of Walls and Secrets.
So the first one?
Yeah, the first one.
Okay.
The first one, yes.
Yes. I really like this episode. It's a little creepy towards the end.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like this episode, actually, because it's so creepy, like the very end of it, where with the Judy thing.
That's okay, so let's start off
super
with,
creepy
before we get to the reveal at the end.
Well, the beginning Judy too is she comes out as a very creepy individual.
Yeah. So at the beginning of this episode, we see the gang on a trolley, I guess,
a train
that's being moved by Earthbenders, and they are heading into Bossing Say.
There is no war in Bossing Say.
And so they're going into the city, and they're met by like a handler. She, I guess they call her, or Toph calls her that.
Well, she says she's being handled.
Yeah, but she's a handler.
I mean, if you want to get technical,
that's a person who handles.
Her name is Judy.
No, it's Judy.
It's Judy.
That's just a little bit Asian flair to a normal name.
to a normal name.
Yeah, Judy.
Just what if it's a normal name in Asia?
We're not in Asia, are we?
But Judy is a terrible name in Asia.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Judy is an American flair to a normally Asian name?
It's not.
Judy.
It's not, because it comes from Judith.
How do we know this?
Well, first, I have a grandma who's named Judith, and we call her Judy.
So we base it off of what your grandma's named?
No, but that's a common.
Has your grandma just been around forever?
Well, quite a while.
Like how many years?
More than you have.
That's fair, because she's your grandma.
There we go.
I am not a parent either.
Exactly. So case in point. And they go into the city of Bossing Say. There is no war in Bossing. Okay.
I'm gonna.
And Judy takes them further into the city, into their new house.
Yeah, they're just given a house. Is that just a perk of being the Avatar?
I guess so. Yeah.
Because that one guy says he's a small political officer or whatever, official, and he worked hard to get that house. But the Avatar just shows up and like, hey, here's a house for you.
They did save the city from the Fire Nation.
That's so dumb, though.
No, it's not. That's reason enough to get a present.
No, but they don't recognize that, though, because there is no war in Bossing Say.
Oh, now you remember to say it.
So, yeah, I just don't understand that guy who lives right across the street from him, and he worked really hard for that house, you know? Like, I'm still stuck on this point.
I mean, the Avatar is the link between the spirits and the regular world, and he's going to bring balance to all of that.
To the Force?
No, to the spirits in the regular world.
Must bring honor to us all?
No, he's going to bring balance to the spirits. And have you even watched the show?
I don't even know what the show is, actually.
Oh.
I don't watch this show. That's what you should do. Just bring an outside source that's never seen the show and sit down with us. Like, I don't
even show him the 2 eepisodes.
No, just what are you guys talking about? Who are these characters? Ong? That's what M. Night Shyamalan did with the movie.
Yeah. Oh, we'll just have them watch the movie.
There you go.
And then talk about the... Yeah, we're going to go back to the first season and make people watch the movie every week while we watch 2 episodes.
They'll be so lost. They'll think they know what's going on, though. They're just sitting there like, yeah. Right. Ong and Sokka. I'm so with you guys.
Ong and Sokka.
Sokka, right.
Back to the episode. They get this house, and they want to speak to the Fire Nation because Sokka is very adamant that they have this information that will lead...
They want to speak to the Earth King, not the Fire Nation.
That's true. That will lead to the downfall of the Earth King. The Fire Nation, sorry.
It's okay, but...
it's very easy to get the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Nation mixed up.
Totes obs.
Yeah. There's only like 4 nations, so they're all sort of interchangeable. But yeah, they say that Sokka really wants to talk to the Earth King because he thinks that the Earth King can help them in defeating the Fire Nation.
If I recall right, the Earth King is pretty dumb, isn't he?
I'm not going to say anything because that's spoilers.
We haven't met him yet.
Yeah.
Oops.
I don't think that he's dumb. No. I will say that.
The order for he has got a lot of power, though.
Yes.
The order for to have an audience with the Earth King has been put in, and she says it'll be up to a month.
So and then 6 to 8 weeks, really.
Yeah. I wish we had that sound clip from Madagascar. 6 to 9 months.
No, 6 to 8 weeks.
Anyways, which is a long time. Isn't that post the? I almost said apocalypse.
Post-apocalypse.
Post-apocalypse. Isn't that post the? What's that thing?
Sozin's Comet.
No, the thing before that. The
eclipse.
Eclipse. Isn't that post-eclipse?
Probably.
So it won't help them at all.
That's why it's such a big deal that they have to go see.
Sokka's real upset about this lady's not... he says that she's listening to every other word he says, and it's getting real aggravating for Sokka, and for the viewers, too, sometimes. Like if you're really invested in the show, unless you're just a child there to watch cool...
I'm not, but some people might be.
I'm not really invested
I'm done with it, really, to tell you the truth.
I'm just there for cool choreography, which is it this episode we get a lot of cool choreography with... Jet and Zuko.
Oh yeah, a major sword fight breaks out. Yeah, so at the same time that the gang is coming in to the Ba Sing Se,
Zuko and Uncle
and Jet
and
Smellerby
and Long Shot
Arrow
Shadow.
Is it? It might be Long Shot. No, Shot Shadow.
Shadow Cat.
Arrow Cat.
Long Boy.
Well, I think we're getting away from what his name actually is.
The guy who shoots arrows and doesn't talk. He is also there. And there was left of Jet's freedom fighters, and they're also in Ba Sing Se.
Because all the other ones died.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know.
It's not really talked about, is it? But Jet is really adamant on turning in Zuko and Uncle Iroh.
Yeah, because if you remember in the last episode, he saw, or he thinks he saw, Iroh heat his tea up with fire bending.
Insane, right? But in this episode, Uncle Iroh and Zuko have jobs now as tea makers in this small little building, whatever, this little cafe.
Yeah, because as of right now, Avatar, Aang, and everyone else in his group have moved in.
He gets a title and nobody else does?
Well, yeah. What are their titles?
Master Waterbender Katara.
No, I'm not saying that every time.
Master Earthbender Toph.
So they've gone into an intersection of the city with all the aristocrats and powerful people and such like that.
Oh yes, aren't there? There's
like 3 sections, and it's segregated by class. So the refugees and all of the poorer people, or they're described as artisans and people who work with their hands, are in the outer ring of the city, and the middle ring is pretty much the middle class, and then the inner ring are the aristocrats and higher ups. Well, even though Avatar, Aang, and I keep saying his title, even though they've gone into the middle of the city, Zuko, Iroh, Jet, Smellerby, and Long Arrow Shadow are in the outer rim with the poor folk.
It's kind of reminiscent of, it's not reminiscent because it came afterwards, that one of the cities in Skyrim is like that.
It's also kind of reminiscent of any communist country.
Yeah, also that. And I'm talking about
and not really because they don't have a middle class.
Really, just entertainment. Really, is what I'm talking about. Like Attack on Titan, like they have the walls
just because of the big wall.
Just because of the big walls. Well, Attack on Titan, they have 3 separate walls.
Yeah,
I don't watch anime. Sometimes Death Note's really good.
It's okay.
I enjoyed it. They're going out the movie
This isn't a Death Note podcast
with Willem
though.
Dafoe.
I don't care about. No, it's not a movie. It's a TV show.
It is a TV show?
I think so. It's live action. It might be a movie.
It's
but
live
It's on
action.
Netflix.
Well, yeah,
So
Willem Dafoe is the Shinigami.
it could be like a TV show.
It's a thing. Anyways, back to Bossing Say.
Jet is he's still mad at Zuko for denying to come with him, but then he also has an intense hatred of the Fire Nation.
Yeah, so he has kind of like a little bit of an anger, a little bit of a something towards Zuko, but he also has a fiery hatred, for the Fire Nation. And so there's one part where he steals the Spark Rocks from Zuko and Iroh because they're about to heat the tea.
They're gonna eat the tea.
Heat the tea. Did I say eat?
I think so.
That'd be intense, right? Just eat the leaves.
Play it back.
That's not. About to heat the tea. 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 Heat the tea. Heat the tea. Heat the tea. Heat.
I don't know. Kind of sound like eat the tea to me.
I think it sounds like heat the tea.
Okay, guys, if you think it was eat the tea, tweet at us at Boys in the Berg, hashtag eat the tea,
or hashtag heat the tea.
If you think it was heat the tea. I think it's eat the tea. We're going to move on. We're 11 minutes into the episode, and we need to get this done.
We've made so much progress.
Oh, yeah. It's been about 3 hours since we started recording.
Don't tell them that.
Okay, so I don't even remember exactly where we were, but I think that we were talking about Jet. So Jet is on this crusade to get Iroh and Zuko to reveal themselves as the firebenders that they are.
Yeah, he's gone he's such a radical right now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Towards this anti-firebending plan that he has, that his friends have abandoned him.
Yeah,
And
they don't think that they're actually firebenders.
well, also he's like such a loon to them right now. They're like, "Hey, dude, you need to, even if they are firebenders, you need to chill. Like you're going way above this." And he's like, "I'm going to turn these guys in." He's like, "It's fine. I won't do anything about it. I'll just turn them in." But then he ends up freaking out at the last minute.
So yeah, he comes up with a scheme where he takes the fire starters,
Yes.
that Zuko and Iroh have, and so they have to heat their tea some other way. And so he's sitting there waiting, wait until Iroh firebends to light the fire to heat the tea.
Yes.
Hashtag heat the tea.
Hashtag heat the tea.
And he's sitting there waiting, and Iroh just goes out and gets more
He's
from
like
his neighbor.
I guess they all just have it. I mean, I guess tea is a very common thing to drink. So
Yeah.
He wasn't gone very long. How close are those houses?
They're pretty close.
They share a door.
Well,
Like he just walks
if
out of one door.
If you look at like how close the houses are packed together when they're going into it,
Yes.
they were
like on
slums.
top of each other, basically.
Yeah, this
Like-
is a regular Slumdog Millionaire situation.
Oh yeah.
Dev Patel plays Zuko.
Segue.
Yeah. So Zuko's foiled by that, so that just angers him even more than he already was, and he decides to take matters into his own hands.
Well, Jet's foiled by that, not Zuko.
Did I? Okay. Well, we were talking about Dev Patel.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he decides to take matters into his own hands, like he says, and he attacks Zuko and Iroh in the tea shop.
Wow. There's a whole bunch of people around them.
Yeah, because Iroh has changed the
I think this is like
recipe.
the next day.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of people in there.
Yeah, Iroh has changed the recipe now, so they have the best tea in Bossing
Yeah,
Say.
so
it's packed.
Everybody's on his side to begin with because
Yeah.
he's a really good teammate.
Yeah, and he's like, I saw him heat his tea, and he goes, yeah, he works in a tea shop.
Of course.
Duh. And then he goes to attack Zuko, and Zuko steals what we think is
that's cool,
security
'cause,
guards.
Yeah,
or-
Jet pulls out his hooks. I don't remember exactly what the swords are called. And they're like, whoa, put your weapons down. What are you doing? This is a tea store.
So they go to grab their weapons, and Zuko's like, wait a minute. And he steals the weapon out of the dude's
Like
sheath,
a police officer sitting
and
there.
he separates them, and they're dual swords, which
Yeah.
is convenient because Zuko
Is
is
a
a
master.
master in dual swords. And then he whoops Jet's butt.
Well, they're sort of toe and toe.
Well, not at the beginning. At the beginning, Zuko's just very on the defensive, and he just
Yeah.
kind of just like dodging everything, and he's not even attacking him yet. And then he pushes him outside, and then it's kind of back and forth in a more open area. And then the Dai Li show up.
Yeah, and the Dai Li, we haven't even talked about them yet. They
It
are
actually
cool.
It fades out a couple times. It exits the fight scene
Yeah,
twice.
right in between, and like in the middle when they first start going off when they're still in the coffee shop. We cut back to the
And
gang.
I think that's to make the fight seem longer.
Yeah.
which is a good tactic, animation wise. And we see the gang back in the palace trying to. Well, is Katara already in there with Toph? Or
no, because we haven't eaten. So
so this is
comes
where
up
we
with
this,
the plan.
This is where we meet Clancy
or
Brown's
not
character.
Sokka. I think does Katara come up with the plan? or Toph maybe,
one of the two come up with a plan
on how they get to meet the Earth King, because right now they're going to have to wait like at least a month.
And they're going to dress up all pretty and whatnot. And Toph's going to use her royalty card that
Because
they use to get their tickets.
There's a party going on at the palace where all these, like, the aristocrats and everybody are going to attend, and the Earth King is going to be there front and center.
Yes, and so that's the plan, is for those two to show up all royalty-wise and then sneak Sokka and Aang in the back. But Aang and Sokka have no patience, and they go in as bus boys, which is funny because Toph says earlier, you two couldn't even pass as bus boys.
Yeah. So while Katara and Toph are trying to get into the party via Toph's, like, her
She just
credentials.
has that, I guess. She just has her royalty paperwork.
Yeah. The Beifong paperwork, which it does not work, because they're like, nope, you can't come in without a ticket.
That's some seriously high quality stuff. Then, if she got them free tickets to get into Ba Sing Se,
but she can't get. Well, it's the Earth King's palace.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's fair. That's some high society nonsense. If their royalty couldn't get in there,
Yeah, and actually, while they've been trying to meet with the Earth King, we've seen them go around to different places, and they're trying to talk to people. They're trying to find Appa, and they're trying to tell people about the war. And we see people scared to actually tell them anything because Judy's sitting in the background with her creepy smile, shaking her head no.
Yeah.
So we get to see that there's a little bit more going on in Ba Sing Se than meets the eye.
A little bit more mystery behind the war, and it's like you said, it's really creepy. Judy is very creepy, but then I like when Aang and Sokka and Katara and Toph are all in the palace now. They've broken in. I can't remember how. With Katara and Toph, they got in because of Long Feng. They met Long Feng, which
the leader of the Dai Li.
It just so happens to be the leader of the Dai Li. And they're like, listen, we can't find our family. Can you help us? And he goes, yes. And they walk in there and he goes, okay, thanks. We'll get out of here now. And he's like, what kind of host would I be if I didn't help you find your family?
Yeah, and this dude's straight up creepy.
Yeah, and so he's voiced by Tom Clancy. God bless it, Caleb. He's voiced by Clancy Brown, who is one of my favorite voice actors ever, Mr. Krabs, for like 20 years running.
Yeah. So Nickelodeon's keeping in the family.
Absolutely.
But the Dai Li are actually we find out the cultural, they keep the culture in Ba Sing Se like sort of homogenous, and they don't let any outside influence or anything.
They're really, like, I don't know, efficient.
Yeah.
Like, they're really good at their job.
Yeah, they're all earthbenders.
Yes. And I think, I can't remember specifically, I might just be making this up, but I think there's a fight between the Dai Li and Ty Lee, and Ty Lee can't puncture their chi.
I think that we should save the spoilers for your Avatar spoiler podcast.
I just liked it so much.
I
like the Dai Li that they have the rock hands and stuff like that. Like, they're covered in rock.
So now Aang and Sokka have gotten in with Momo acting as Aang's hair. He's got like his tail's coming down.
Well, everybody there does have that ponytail thing going
on. I guess that's Earth Kingdom fashion.
Maybe.
And then Katara and Toph are also in there. And I guess they shook Long Feng and they got away from him because they meet up with Aang.
Yes, well, Aang and Sokka are the bus boys, and they walk over to Toph. Like, they run into Toph somehow, and then Katara's there with him.
Yeah.
And then Aang...
A frazzled Judy shows up.
Yes, I love that whole part.
Yeah.
Before, like, Aang, something happens, and they spill water on this one woman, and Aang's like, hold on, don't scream, as if to, like, say not to draw attention.
Yeah.
And then he airbends her completely dry, which
drawing the most
attention. And then you hear the noise in the background of the song. It's kind of upbeat and whatnot. It's very, party-esque. And then it starts to die real slow like. And Judy's facial expression goes from a creepy smile to just a really bad frown. Yeah. And she starts freaking out. And she goes, you guys have to get out of here.
You can see, like, her hair's come out of place, and she has, like, bags under her eyes.
She's real frazzled right now.
Yeah.
And we get to find out why later. But, so... They Aang and whatnot is out there entertaining the whole guests now, and Sokka's trying to find out where the Earth King is at, and so he's entertaining the guests, making the bear all happy. The
actual bear,
an actual bear, not
a platypus bear,
not a chimera of any kind.
Armadillo bear.
It's a skunk bear,
lemur bear. I don't know.
A bear,
a bear,
just a Care Bear.
It's that because it's the top half is a bear, but then the bottom half is a bear.
Yes. Well, technically the bottom half is a bear. And the top half is.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's semantics, tomato. But So the king is actually being carted out at this point. They bring him out, and you can sort of see him. He's got glasses.
Yeah, you see his silhouette. You don't
Yeah.
really see him. He's in that little royalty cage that they're carrying.
The royalty cage.
And he's surrounded by, I think, Dai Li agents, right? Or is
Yeah.
that his personal guard?
Well, they're probably Dai Li, but yeah,
You
they
think
are
so?
his personal guard also.
And then Aang jumps out and he goes, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you, King." He goes to extend his courtesy. And then, very rudely, I might add, he runs over everybody's food.
Yeah,
And
that's
then Long Fang, I think is the Clancy Brown character, shows up and he tells him what he is to the Earth Kingdom. He tells him why he cannot meet the Earth King. And then then in the background you see Katara, Toph, and Sokka all get captured by the Dai Li hands. They
It's really
earthbend
cool
hands.
because you see the Dai Li sort of sneak up behind them, and then they all have like a
gloves.
yeah, they're gloves made out of earth, which they shoot off of their hands and then grab them. They put one hand over their mouth and then pull them back.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool way to do that.
I've always liked that a lot. I love how they incorporate bending into everything they do. Which is what we talked about earlier when watching the show. Like when they were moving the tram.
That's how you would
doing
develop
that.
technology, though, if you had that.
And like when they were opening the gates, not yet, next episode. We've seen it before
Yeah,
in
we've seen
this episodes. They use earthbending. I really love that a lot. Like it's just a normality they have. They're not like shunned for being earthbenders.
Yeah.
It's not like Korra.
Yeah, so then we see. So let's go back to Zuko and Jet real quick. So everyone really is on Zuko and Iroh's side because they don't know. They think that they're not, in fact, not firebenders, even though Jet's,
They've given no proof so far to the public of being firebenders or let alone Fire Nation royalty.
Yeah, because they're the biggest of the baddest.
Yeah,
really.
they're just hiding.
So Jet's screaming all this crazy talk, and the entire crowd that's gathered around is like, "What are you talking about, dude?
Yeah,
is this guy's just a really good team maker? Like, what are you saying?"
The Dai Li actually show up,
Yeah.
and they're like, "What happened?" And what I'm assuming is the poor people's police show up,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I saw it all myself, sir. This guy just attacked these guys out of nowhere," and then he goes, "Just attacked one of the finest team makers in the city," and then Iroh blushes. I love Iroh every single
it's
time.
so good.
But then they take away Jet, and Jet's freaking out, and you almost feel sorry for him at the end of there because he's kind of got a point. Hey, they're firebenders, but he didn't need to attack them.
Yeah,
and also he's being taken away by the police, and then we see Jet being taken away into a room. It's reminiscent of that Lost episode where Carl, or is it Carl? Remember when he's brainwashed?
Yeah. Why don't you save it for your Lost podcast?
Shut up! I want to make references.
I think this is actually before that on Lost. So Lost stole it from Avatar.
Oh my God, Lost! I have so much respect, Lost, for you now.
Ha. Okay, so yeah, we see Jet being carted off to places unknown, is what I would say.
I suppose so.
And then we see, in a similar fashion, the Avatar gang is being taken in by the Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama.
And they're in this little room with Long Fang, with really cool. All the fire is green, so they've come up with some way to change the color of the fire, and it just adds to the aesthetic value of everything.
Which I like because when you see the Fire Lord, every time we've seen the Fire Lord, he's surrounded by fire to make him more just the bad guy, to let him know. It really hits that home that he's the bad guy. And so when we see behind Long Fang, it's green to symbolize the green of the Earth Kingdom and the Dai Li, because the Dai Li wears a lot of green, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then we get some I don't know, it's some explanation from Long Fang over what's going on.
Yeah, he's like, if you come in and tell everybody that there's a war, because we're surrounded by walls, they're self-sufficient, like they can do what they want to there.
Yeah.
They provide for themselves, like the city as a whole, Ba Sing Se. And he's like, if you tell that right now, you'll destroy our traditions, you'll destroy like our morals, basically everything. Like our farmers won't want to farm anymore, like stuff like that. Like I'm paraphrasing a lot, but I'm going off on tangent.
And that's what the Dai Li are there for. They're cultural preservers.
Yes.
So they take out any rogue elements that might want
They're
to harm.
here to maintain order by any means necessary.
Yes.
And by any means necessary, they're talking about brainwashing, such as Jet.
Yes. So that's the big reveal at the end of this episode, kind of.
Well, too, because
there's a couple, but we see that Jet is in this room with a Dai Li agent, and there's a like a spinning ring around the Dai Li agent with a candle on it, and every time it gets close to Jet, so we're sort of at the point of view of Jet looking straight at this Dai Li agent. And when it gets close to him, the candle lights up everything on the screen and then goes around. And the Dai Li is saying stuff to him.
Yeah, like, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. And he's like, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. And then we get that from Jet.
Yeah, so they're effectively brainwashing Jet into thinking that nothing's going on.
Yeah, and you're like, but why Jet? Like, why? Is this because he's freaking out about the Fire Nation? Is that why?
Probably, yeah.
And so we get a firsthand, from the audience perspective, we get to see like how harsh they are towards people who bring up the Fire Nation. And then I think they're going easy on the Avatar because he's the Avatar. But at the very end of it, they're like, here, Judy will escort you back to your home. And then we get to see from Long Feng's perspective, from behind Judy, and you see all the faces of the Team Avatar, and they're standing there like, oh man, they're looking at Judy, and she's talking to him and whatnot, and the camera pans around, and it's a completely different woman, dressed in the same garb as Judy had. And they're like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Judy.
They just brought another person in and trying to pass her off as Judy.
Which is probably one of the reasons why Judy was freaking out.
Because she knew what was going to happen if she failed her job.
Yes, which is insane.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And another thing that I didn't even think of until here, if they have been brainwashing people, I don't know how often it happens, but when Jet calls him out for being Fire Nation, people probably didn't even, they're like, okay, he's from the Fire Nation. Who cares?
Yeah, there's no war in Ba Sing Se.
Because
there's no war anywhere.
Why would they have any reason to be fearful of firebenders if they don't even know what's going on?
This dude's just a loon.
So they're like, okay, even if they are firebenders, what are you talking about?
That's fair. That's fair because they're all still living in peace, they think.
Yeah, but then it cuts to the very end. So right after they see Judy, it cuts over. And that's a really cool ending because they're like, oh, something else is going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy things going on in the background of Ba Sing Se.
But yeah, that's the very end of the episode.
It is indeed.
I say we move on to some trivia.
What I've been vetting trivia, but I forgot which ones I wanted to read.
Nice. Okay, so when Jet and Zuko begin their fight in the tea shop, Zuko grabbed one of the guards from the ferry station, so I guess it's ferry station guards, dual swords instead of his own. This could be because he left them back at the apartment where he and Iroh live. So he still has his swords.
So they don't have to check their weapons or anything like that? Like
I guess not.
They just
I thought
that
they would have had to. But
well, I mean, I guess when you go into the poor part, when they go through the poor part of town, they see that one dude has a gigantic like scimitar almost.
Yeah.
So I guess people just have weapons.
And I don't really like how the ferry guard has dual swords.
Yeah, you brought that up.
I think that it would be cooler and more unique if Zuko was just a master of them and they were sort of his thing. But if everyone has them, then what's the deal of them?
I think it was just they at the last minute they're like, hey, it'd be really nice if
Zuko needs to get dual swords.
Zuko needs dual swords, so let's give them to him. So, anyways, next piece of trivia, Caleb.
When Team Avatar and Judy were at Ba Sing Se University, the student told him to go see Professor Zay, who happened to be trapped in Wan Shi Tong's library.
The same dude?
Yeah.
We saw that, which I thought that was, but Sokka
did they not know he was gone?
Sokka goes, yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah. No, you won't. He's dead, most likely. We don't know. Probably. Okay, here's one. In one scene, when Aang asks if they can see the king, Judy states, one doesn't just pop in on the Earth King. This is similar to a scene in The Lord of the Rings, when Boromir states, one does not simply walk into Mordor.
Become a very popular meme there. Popular,
yes. Popular meme
Popular.
about a tree. So when Aang and Sokka are planning to sneak into the party, they hide behind a lion turtle statue.
Ooh, is that foreshadowing or is that just hinting towards?
I think it's. I'm not gonna say anything because that could be a spoiler, but I don't know. Maybe
it's some stuff. It's some lore.
So I think that just about wraps this episode up.
That's good.
I
love this episode.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's very like 1984 reminiscent and stuff like that
of George Orwell's 1984.
Yeah, it just comes off like propaganda, really.
Yeah, it basically is.
Okay, so this is probably one of the most waited for episodes that we want to talk about. This next one,
which is crazy because it's basically a fluff piece.
It's just filler.
Yeah, it's just there for the character's point. Which this is probably the biggest filler episode I've ever seen because it's literally just people just doing their own side things. Nothing to.
And I think that's what makes it feel
forward the story,
not just like a filler episode, is because we get everything broken up, so it feels like mini-sodes really. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the tales of Bossing Say.
Yeah, everybody gets their own little skit, and it starts off with
Toph and Katara.
It does.
Yes.
And I think when it shows up the title screen of each individual skit, I think they have individual musical or scores.
Yeah, probably.
I think they're all different. I could be wrong.
This is probably my least favorite one, Toph and Katara's.
Well, it doesn't really serve a purpose.
No. So we're just going to run through this real quickly. Basically, the premise is that Katara thinks that Toph is too dirty, so she takes her out to go to like a spa and get cleaned up. And then people make fun of Toph with her makeup on, and Toph gets real angry
And kills them.
Drowns them because they're walking over a bridge, and she just drops them into the water. And then Katara sends them down the river, and they die by crashing into the rocks at the waterfall.
Yeah, it's really a painful death, and that's basically the end of it.
Yeah, but I don't really like this because I don't know. I think it's supposed to make Toph seem more like she does care what people think.
Yeah, it's supposed to give Toph depth.
I don't like that. Not necessarily that Toph doesn't have depth, but
I don't like giving Toph depth. I don't want her character to have improvements.
I think I like her character better when she doesn't care what people think, because why would you?
Well, I think it's, like I said during the episode, I think it's basically when she had her own thing of royalty, like her own, wherever she was. Was it Omashu?
It wasn't Omashu.
It wasn't Omashu. The little town she was in, and she was the royalty there. She's probably used to that. People just looking down at her and sneering at her because she's blind, giving her crap, or treating her differently because she's blind. But at the same time, I think it's not the best skit. It's the worst of the all.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's even worse than Momo's skit. And yes, Momo gets his own skit. But the next skit is
the Tale of Iroh,
which is
so it goes straight from the worst to straight to the best.
The best, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely. And I think this is really with fans of the show, especially. This is one that sticks with you.
Yes, there's actually, I Googled it earlier, Leaves from the Vine, which was the introduction to our episode, actually. Hopefully, if Caleb edits it right. If you Google Leaves the Vine cover, there's like 100 different covers of the song. Like, it's very popular. 100 doesn't sound like a lot, but imagine sitting down and
this is basically
Iroh's
Iroh's theme.
Yes.
For the entire series. But that this one actually starts out with Iroh going around to the marketplaces, and he purchases a picnic basket, and it's basically just Iroh giving his wisdom to everyone he meets. Like he runs across a baby crying. He helps the guy in the shop with his flower.
Yeah,
I guess
he's like the moonflower, like shadow, and then immediately blooms, and then he keeps the kid from crying when he sings the song.
He sings the song. Yeah, he sings the song to the kid and stops the kid crying. And then he meets some kids playing like a ball game.
It's almost like soccer, but they use earthbending, which is super cool.
And they break a window, and he says that it's usually best to tell when you have done something wrong. And then the guy gets real mad inside the window, and he's like,
he's huge.
But that's not this time, and they run away. And then he meets a guy who's going to rob him. And he helps him with his stance because it was a very poor stance to begin with.
This guy actually has a name. It's Tycho. Not unlike
it doesn't matter.
Tycho RC.
It is unlike that.
It's almost like that. But yeah, he helps him and he's like, hey, your stance is wrong, dude. This is how you want to do if you want to fight somebody. And he teaches him how to actually properly mug somebody after beating him. But
he does instill wisdom in him and says that you can do better than this. And the guy's like, yes, I can. No one's believed in me before.
Well, the actual quote is after that is, while it is always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing.
Yeah.
And that's Iroh being his philosophical self. And I love Iroh. He's such a good character. He's very positive in nature.
Does he help anybody else after that?
Ooh, I don't know.
I can't remember.
I don't think he does. I think that's the last one. And then he takes his stuff.
He takes all the stuff that he got in the market up to a tree that looks a little familiar. It's on top of a hill in the inner wall of Ba Sing Se.
Yes, it is.
And he takes out a picture and puts it at the base of the tree, and then sets up sort of like a little
incense thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like a shrine, basically. And it turns out that's a picture of his son. And
then he sings "Leaves from the Vine."
Yes, and in a very sad way.
And it'll hit you right in the feels, as the kids call it.
Yeah, because it's this character of Iroh who's old and he's been through all this stuff and he's so helpful to everyone. And then he says, "If only I could have helped you," to his dead son, even though he couldn't because he died in battle in Ba Sing Se,
which is a tragedy, really. And Iroh has been through so much, and he's experienced so much, and he only wants to pass on wisdom and happiness. And that's such a good character.
Yeah.
It's such a good idol for people to live in now. But people don't. And
we actually think I never really put this together before, but that the tree that he was at, I think that they've shown it before in a previous episode in a flashback when he was actually playing with his son.
Yes, that's what I was going to refer to in a second.
Because in the siege of Ba Sing Se, what was it, 100 years that had gone on?
100 day.
100, was it 100? Okay, 100 day. Well, then that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it might not have been. It might have been 100 years because the what's it called? Oh crap. The movie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me that. The movie says 100-day siege of Ba Sing Se.
Oh.
So that's where I got that from when we talked about it. I don't know if it's 100 years, 100 days, 100 months. I have no idea.
Because in the flashback we see him with his young son, but then his son enrolled in the army and was killed.
As an adult.
It would have had to have been longer than 100 days.
Yes.
But yeah, he's at the base of this tree, and I think it's the day his son died.
Well, maybe they were just visiting Ba Sing Se before their war really broke out.
Well, no, because they started genociding the airbenders.
Almost as soon as Aang went to the iceberg?
Yeah.
That's fair. So, never mind to me then.
It
might have been 100 years. And 100 years would sit the continuity of,
yeah.
It's been 100 years since the war started. It's been 100 years since you've been gone. That would fit.
Regardless, we don't really know. But, yeah, this is a real tearjerker of a little vignette.
Yeah, it makes you really... If you don't already love the character of Iroh, it makes you really feel extra emotions for him.
Yeah.
That aren't actually negative. It's sympathy or empathy for him. But
and the way this one ends is a little memorial.
It says, "In honor of Mako," and Mako is the voice actor of Iroh. And in the credit, or not the credits, but like the behind the scenes thing for this episode, I think, now I could be wrong. I think he might have passed away mid recording of this episode, because if you listen, there's a couple parts where he talks, but he's not credited. The guy who voiced him in season 3 and in Korra, he was like a protege or like a side guy for like Mako. So he spent a lot of time with him, which is why they chose him. He's like, hey, you can pretty much mimic this dude's voice, but it's just a little bit different in one scene of this episode for him. And I think he might have passed away, and that's why they said in honor of Mako in this episode. Maybe I could be wrong, and if not, that's a really cool send off. Like this most memorable episode for Iroh,
yeah,
and it's in honor of Mako. That's really cool. It's not convenient because he passed away. It's just it's a nice send off for him.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But the next skit is Sokka.
It's Aang.
Oh, it's Aang, right? Yeah.
And this is not one of my favorites. It was always okay.
I think it was to lighten the mood.
Oh yeah, probably. But it's all about Aang trying to liberate a zoo, because he goes to the zoo looking at animals, and he's still reeling over Appa, that he still misses him a lot, and he sees all these animals in the zoo that's decrepit and it's dusty and dirty and stuff, and all the animals look sad because apparently there's no food for them anymore because nobody's going to see them, and that's what the owner of the zoo says.
Yeah, well, it's a very trashy zoo because they're all just caged up in very small cages.
Yeah.
And I like that you mentioned Appa. They don't let you forget that Appa's gone. Like it's not an overbearing part of the story right now, but there's always little segments in each individual episode. Like, hey, when he goes to the Serpent's Pass, you don't mention Appa at all until the very end of it. And he's like, I've been so mad about Appa, and this gives me hope. And then at the end of this episode, you get a little bit of Appa hinting towards Appa, and I like that a lot. Like they don't let you forget that Appa's gone. Like he's still a key character.
Yeah.
But anyways, yes. So he breaks all these animals out of this zoo, and he takes them directly outside, and he basically does some killer earthbending, and he earthbends a brand new zoo for these guys, and
he does it
using Appa's bison whistle.
Yeah, because he lets them out into the streets, and he thought that he could just lead them out of the city, But they just go and start attacking everybody and breaking people's plates and stuff.
And we get our favorite recurring character of the cabbage guy.
Yes, because the rabbit, Rabaroo, starts eating some cabbages. And the cabbage guy says, I don't care anymore. And he goes home and he hangs himself.
Yep. It's very dark. It's very dark. But it's very funny because we get to see that Rabaroo eat his cabbages. So
yeah, and then eat his corpse.
End of the cabbage man. Death of the cabbage people.
But Aang thought it was going to be a lot easier to round up all these animals, but he eventually gets on like his ball of air and his air scooter, and he's riding that around and blowing the whistle, so all the animals are chasing him. And he says, "Open the gates."
And they're like, "Why?" And the other guy that was the zookeeper. He's been trying to talk to people and open the gates, and they're like, "We shouldn't do that." And they're like, "No, you should though, because of that." And turns around,
a giant stampede,
and there's a stampede of all the zoo animals coming towards them.
And they open those giant gates.
It's as tall as the wall.
Yeah,
like it's almost pointlessly tall.
It's ridiculous. What do they need it?
They're just showing off their earthbending skills. They're like,
yeah,
I can move this whole wall. What's up?
Yeah. Does it take more strength to lift something big? Like, it would have to, right?
Probably. It's just an extension. It's basically an extension of your muscles.
I always just think of like when Yoda really struggles in episode 2 to lift that thing up after he fights Count Dooku. And how it should be a lot easier for him, right? Because he's just like,
I never liked that.
It's probably the same thing with Earthbenders. The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
It's fair.
But Aang gets all the animals out and creates these individual like preserves, like wildlife preserves, and wide open spaces for all the animals and stuff. Although I don't know how he kept the dragonflies, and these are dragon flies. They're tiny dragons, basically.
I'm with you,
but they can fly. How are they like caged up?
I don't know. I don't know. You know what? Maybe they can only fly for so long.
Probably not
so high, like a chicken.
Is that how chickens work?
Every time we saw them, they were just flying a little bit. Yeah, like they just started flying.
So Aang has liberated these animals, and he's helped them in that way.
Yeah, and that's basically the end of that episode.
Yeah. Again, not one of my favorites.
No, it's kind of pointless, but I think it's just to lighten the mood from the Leaf from the Vine episode. And then the next one is Sokka. Am I right this time, please?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and this is Sokka just walking through, and he's throwing his boomerang and catching it and whatnot, and then he hears something in a building, and then he peeping Toms his way into this building. And
it's real creepy.
Sees these women reading poetry, and not just any poetry, mind you, haikus.
Yes,
and then he gets kicked by an ostrich horse thing into the building.
So for those of you not familiar with haikus, Sokka stumbles onto what's known as the 575 Society. And so what a haiku is a poem or a collection of words that the first line has 5 syllables, second line has 7 syllables, and the third line has 5 syllables.
Now it's Japanese, right? That's what it's from?
Yes. It has origins in Japan. I've never been a fan of the haiku.
We used to have to do haikus in like 4th grade. I remember that. Mrs. Midget?
Yeah.
And we're not making that up.
Midget.
Oh, I'm going to call her Midget.
Yeah. No, that was her name.
That was her name. She managed to do poetry. And I remember we got these books for our birthdays called Highlights, and there was always poems in there. And when they made us do that, I had just had my birthday, and so I copied and pasted the poetry, and I got in so much trouble for plagiarism. So much trouble. I think I got detention actually.
Probably
in 4th grade.
It's a pretty bad offense.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Why wouldn't you not?
People plagiarize all the time. Yeah. But anyways,
so Sokka stumbles in here, and he starts speaking in haiku,
just conveniently.
So the first time he does it. He does it on accident, which is ridiculous. There's no way he'd do it on accident.
And it makes all the girlies giggle.
Yep, and Sokka's like, "Ooh, I like that."
Sokka's like, "I'm pretty fly for a water tribe guy."
Nice.
Yeah. And he just keeps running, like busting out. It's like a rap battle, really, because almost like the leader, because she looks like the oldest.
Yeah, she's probably like the instructor.
Yeah, and she just stands up there and she just kind of slow claps over to Sokka real menacingly, and then she says something in a haiku form. And it's very derogatory towards Sokka, and then Sokka retaliates in haiku form, and it's really like a rap battle, but in poetry form.
It just keeps going back and forth and back and forth. Every time Sokka will say something, all the girls giggle, and Sokka is emboldened by that.
Yeah,
and then comes and says something else.
It's a back and forth thing, and then he says one more thing, and the last word he says is boomerang. and he puts a question mark on there, and they don't laugh. And he counts it on his hands, and then out of nowhere, this big dude, dressed in
the
pink,
best part of it,
and he walks up to him and he goes, "Hey, that's too many syllables," and then picks him up and throws him out. Like they have like a security guard who counts the syllables.
Yeah, I think that was hilarious.
Which is funny that there's just this big guy in the corner that either he's part of the society and he's like the bigger brother to all of them, or he's just the actual security guard listening in the corner to these haikus, and that's his one job. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah. But that's the end of that one. Again, this is okay. They all sort of pale in comparison with Iroh's, though.
Yeah. Well, I think in order, it's Iroh's and then Momo's and then Sokka's, Aang's. And then...
I like Zuko's better.
Oh, I forgot Zuko's in this one.
Which brings us to the next story. That's Zuko.
Wow. Foolish me.
So this starts out and it's just sort of going through the everyday life where Zuko and Iroh are... And we don't know how much time is passing. They could have been here for weeks.
No. And we actually, it's a really confusing timepiece because in the last episode we watched, the City of Walls and Secrets, the whole gang gets taken by the Dai Li. But in this episode, they're all living happily in their house.
Yeah.
So this probably takes place before?
Well, see, my theory is that since Katara and Toph went and got makeup on in the first little vignette in this one, that's actually before they got all dressed up to go into the party, because they had similar makeup on in that. So I think that maybe that takes place between the events of them leaving and coming back with all the makeup.
Okay, and it expands the city of Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
It gives you more in depth of the city. It's not just this, I don't know, it's actually creatures. It's a thing you don't really see a lot. But anyways.
Yeah, this tale is, I think that I would rank them, and we can, let's talk about the stories. So Zuko is concerned at the beginning of the episode because he thinks that there's an agent of the elite that are onto them, know they're firebenders.
Because she frequents their coffee shop or tea shop.
She's been there every day.
Every single day.
Yeah. And so Zuko's like convinced that she knows that they're not who they are.
But it's just this cute little girl.
Yeah.
And she actually had a thing for Zuko.
Yeah.
And she asks him out.
Yeah, so she comes up and pays and says, "Hey, you want to go out with me sometime?"
And then he turns
Zuko's
around.
like, "No, probably not." And I was like, "No, he definitely wants to."
But then Zuko turns around and she sees his ugly scar and then says, "Oh man, you're hideous."
That does not happen.
And then slaps him.
She is, beauty is not skin deep. Or is that?
Beauty's only skin deep.
No, it's not. It's the other way. So Iroh says that, yeah, of course he'll go on a date. And she's like, "Okay, I'll be here at sundown."
And then the sun goes down and she's there.
Yeah.
So she's
she's not a liar.
woman of her word.
I'll give her that. But Zuko's hair's all done up. It said Iroh, it took like 10 minutes to do his hair.
She immediately messes it up.
Yeah.
And then they go on their little date.
Yeah, and so they go out to eat, and Zuko lies a lot, because I mean he has to. If he were just tell the truth.
Yeah, I'm actually Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation. My grandfather really started this whole thing.
You're okay with that, right?
Oh yeah. But they go out to eat, and then like you said, they lie a lot, and then
Zuko says he's in a circus with his uncle.
She tries to make him juggle, and he goes, "I haven't practiced a lot." And then they go to this place. It's like this floating lanterns thing.
Well, yeah, she says that she wants to take him to her favorite place.
Somewhere special.
Yeah, and there's no one around, which is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, maybe they're all asleep. It is nighttime.
Yeah, but everyone in this giant city?
Maybe they haven't progressed yet to where they realize they have to work overnight. It's strictly 9 to 5.
Yeah. So she takes him into the inner city and to the Firelight Fountain, as it's called.
I guess I was not paying attention to that. Thank you for that.
I'm just reading that now off the wiki. But she says that the lanterns actually, she loves how the lanterns make the water in the fountain sparkle. Mm-hmm. And the lanterns aren't lit when they arrive there. And so she's all bummed out. And Zuko actually shows that he has a little bit of a heart.
And does a little bit of firebending. But first he says, close your eyes and don't open them.
Yeah, for anything, or I will burn your, I mean... I'll hurt you.
Yeah. And he lights all the lanterns, like with what you said, pinpoint accuracy.
He's like spot on.
Which it's good. There's a lot of lanterns there. And he just starts shooting them over and over and over again. And then he tells her to open her eyes, and all the lanterns are lit, even the ones in the water.
And her eyes light up
with fire because he kills her.
No, because she's excited.
No, with fire because she kills.
Well, the reflection of the fire
on her corpse.
But she's like, "How did you do this?" And Zuko's like, whatever.
An old Indian trick.
Yeah, that's racist.
That's what we always said when we grew up.
Yeah, still racist.
Is it?
But then she's like, "Oh, Zuko."
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and then she leans in for a kiss.
And then he says, "Here's a
holds
coupon for a free tea. My uncle said you could have it."
And she's like, "Oh,
That's so sweet.
thanks."
And then they make out.
Oh yeah.
And then he pushes her away and says, "No, we can't get too close."
And he runs off into the night,
Yeah.
and she never sees him again.
Which is sad.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Because he continues to work there at that tea shop.
Yeah.
So that means she can't go. Like, that's some good tea.
Yeah,
She
she probably goes back.
She's missing out on some good tea, and Zuko's pretty cool at this point.
She probably goes back, and it's just awkward for everybody because he has to serve her.
Gotta
and-
ruin it. Does she have a name? Was she
Jen.
getting a name?
It's
Jen?
Jen. Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it. I really like this one because it sort of gives it gives Zuko more development, and he, even though he would probably be happy just living life as a tea maker in the Earth Kingdom, his honor and drive is still pushing him to get his honor back.
Yeah, well, I also think it hints towards him not wanting to have any attachments, physical or emotional, because he's been moving around a lot recently. Like, he's a refugee, and I realize
circus.
I realize Ba Sing Se is somewhere he can settle down, but in the past, I don't know what I would consider a long time. It's probably. I feel like it's been a year, man. Like, if I were to make these episodes or these seasons, season 1 was it
definitely hasn't been a year.
Season 1 would be a year, season 2 would be a year, season 3 would be a year.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I would do it. But however long it's been recently in his recent life, they've been moving around a lot, so he can't have physical attachments.
Well, I don't even think it's that. It's that he knows that if things came down to it, he just couldn't stay there at all. Like, and he would have to hurt people. Like,
Yes.
because his only goal really is getting the Avatar.
Now I'm curious. Did they know they were going to do this skit with her and him, and did they place her in the tea shop on the previous episode?
I don't know. Probably not.
In the crowd?
I don't remember seeing anybody. I think it was just like the guards.
That'd be
and
cool,
stuff.
though.
Oh yeah.
That'd be good animation. But the next one that we segue into is Momo. Now you're like,
Great segue, Harley.
You're like, Tale of Momo. That's real dumb. That sounds awful. But this one is actually really good. We don't really get any talking in this episode, I don't think.
There's a couple things, but it's mostly through the eyes of Momo, who doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, so it's just garbage. But Momo wakes up, or he's dreaming about him and Appa, and his old buddy Appa, and then he's out there eating peaches or some kind of stuff.
It's moon peaches.
Moon peaches with Appa, and then Appa opens his mouth and roars, and that is in sync with the lightning and thunder in real life. And Momo wakes up, jumps into the bag, opens up the bag, peeks out a little bit, and then he realizes that he's got a tuft of Appa's fur on his head,
which he smells.
and he takes it and he wraps it around his hand, and he's like, "I'm gonna go look for Appa."
He says that.
Momo can speak English now.
And he flies out the window because he sees a shadow that looks suspiciously like a flying bison.
And it's not. It's just a cloud.
It's a cloud.
So he gets disheartened, and he sees another thing from just the top of a ridge of a house, and it's you see the horns and the fluff of what could be another flying bison.
Yes.
He gets over there, and it's just a tree and a stick sticking out, which is, again, disheartening.
Yeah, because he's on this mission. He's going to go find Appa all by himself.
He wants Appa. And then he goes somewhere else.
He goes into an alleyway.
And then he gets attacked by these alley cats, basically.
They look like panthers.
Yeah, they sound like
know
jaguars or panthers.
I don't know what the mix of animals are.
I don't know. Maybe it's just
It might be in the trivia.
It might be. Maybe it's just a regular panther thing. I'm not sure. But he gets attacked by them, and then they chase him into what is a street show, a street performer with the dancing monkeys, and he puts a hat immediately on a Momo, and he dances with him.
Yeah.
And I love that little sound effect they have for a Momo. The bum bum ba bum bum ba. Like, I love that a lot, and he dances for him, and it's so funny. And then he gets chased by the cats again until the cats and Momo get captured by what is probably the pet control.
Well, it's probably like a cook, because they take him to like a kitchen sort of thing.
Well, I think it's a pet control who's selling it to a cook. Because,
because he is talking with a person.
And then Momo, they're in cages, and Momo has opposable thumbs, so he just opens up the cage like a person that can do that. And then he goes to fly off, and he sees the cats that have just been chasing him. They're really sad that he's leaving, and they're not. So he lets them out, and they all run away together. And then the cook's upset that they're gone. But whatever. This is all focused on Momo. And
so
then,
now they're friends.
Yes, now they're friends.
Panthers.
And they go to a rooftop, and it's really just they're looking out on the sunset, and you're like, oh, that was a nice little vignette. That was nice. It's about to be over. But then the cats steal the tuft of fur that was wrapped around Momo's hand, and Momo freaks out. And he chases them through Ba Sing Se, down roads, down alleyways, into a dead end, and they lay it down in this hole in the ground. And Momo goes and picks it up, and the camera pans out, and it's a paw print of
a flying bison.
Or
we don't know what flying bison.
Appa.
It could have been Appa.
Appa. Just any flying bison. They mislead. They find another flying bison. that'd be great.
But that wraps up all of
that's the end.
Individual stories.
That's the end of all of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Tale of Momo is the last one. But yeah, so now we can go through and rank the different ones.
Uncle Iroh's is the best.
Yeah, I think we both agree on that.
I think.
Why don't you go down your list?
Okay, my list. Since I forgot about Zuko, Uncle Iroh, Zuko, Momo, Sokka, Aang, and Katara and Toph.
That's exactly my list. Okay. So we got the same one.
That's good.
Yeah, we can agree. Or maybe for the sake of the podcast, no, I disagree with everything you just said, and I hate you.
Iroh's was the worst.
Yes. You are ridiculous, and I refuse to even entertain that idea.
You're tacky, and I hate you.
Yes. All of that, what you just said, I agree with. Okay, so let's get on to some trivia. So apparently when Iroh sings to the crying boy to calm him down, the baby's doll is an Earth Kingdom soldier.
I saw that. I wanted to point that out. I was going to ask if it was a Dai Li, but it does not look like at all.
So why do they have soldiers if there's no war in Ba Sing Se? There's no war in Ba Sing Se.
I don't know. My fun piece of trivia is this is the last time we see the cabbage guy. It is.
He is mentioned in a later episode, though.
Yes, which we will not talk about. It is one of my favorite episodes.
Yes, it's great.
It's so funny.
Okay, so the tale of Toph and Katara is the only tale in the episode that focuses on two characters. Kind of, I guess. I would say that...
I would say two key characters.
Yeah, okay, because Zuko definitely has two characters in it, even though one's not a main character.
Aw. The theme that I was talking about with Momo, this is the last time his signature theme is heard.
I hate it.
I hate you.
Okay, so apparently this is the first time that Aang is shown using two bending styles at once. Assuming he only used air bending in the fortune teller. He used earth bending while riding an air scooter. So he is doing both concurrently, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
It just shows how much he's grown in his bending since, the first season or the last episode.
But the last piece of trivia here is this is the only episode that Team Avatar is seen enjoying their time in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah, because all of the other ones, and get ready, folks, because it's about ready to go down. It's not a fun city.
Next week is going to be very depressing.
Yeah. And I think we're actually going to have to do 3 episodes again next week.
Because there are 3 left.
Yes.
3 left, and then we're on to season 3, and we are in the heat of things.
In the heat of the moment.
Is that a hint to where we're going to be next? Find out in 2 weeks, folks.
It is.
It is. It's foreshadowing.
With that, we're going to wrap up the episode. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to this. I appreciate it. I can't tell you how it makes me feel. Okay,
don't cry. You're gonna make me cry.
You're gonna make me cry if you cry. Okay, yeah. So thank you for listening. As always, I've been Caleb Bader,
and I'm Harley Davis,
and we'll see you here next week.